Hello everyone, you're welcome back to the Irish Mammy channel. Today I am going to go through some of the seeds I've ordered for the year. I'm just going to go through vegetable seeds today. I did order a ton of flower seeds as well. But I have less experience growing flower from seed. Now I have grown many varieties of flower from seed, but some of the varieties I've ordered this year are maybe a little bit more pernickety, or at least they're unfamiliar to me, so I'm not going to bother going through the flowers, but I'll definitely show you all the vegetable seeds that I've ordered. So my order arrived in this huge big box, very well packaged, and this order is from seedaholic.com. I have already been in it, so they all came divided out into these envelopes, I think in alphabetical order, but I had already taken them out. And so we're going to go through a few of the vegetable seeds. So I'm going to read out my vegetable seeds and herbs, and then I'll show you them each individually. Okay, so we're going to start with the tomatoes. And I'm just going to run through these all quite quickly. There's quite a few of them, so I don't want to spend too much time on them. So if you feel like I'm rushing, you can always click the link. I will leave the link below in the description, and you can click the link to seedaholic.com and you can check out all these varieties for yourself. So my first one is my absolute favorite cherry tomato, Sun Gold. It's an F1 variety, but it's the sweetest cherry tomato I have ever tasted. The most popular cherry tomato, I would say, ever. And definitely a good one to start with for if you're new at garden. Definitely try Sun Gold tomatoes. The next one is one I actually haven't grown before. It's called Auriga. It's like I'd say a salad tomato, medium size, and orange in colour, and it looks like it'll be very nice. So I divide my tomatoes into two categories. One's for fresh eating and then one's for preserving. So those both are definitely fresh eating tomatoes. The next one is called Super Marmont. I absolutely love the Marmont tomato as a slicer for sandwiches. This is the Super Marmont variety, which is apparently a bigger one. I've not grown this particular variety before, but yeah, I love big tomatoes, and these I would imagine can be used for preserving as well if I didn't have enough of my other varieties. So that's the tomatoes. That's not all the tomatoes I'll be growing this year. That's just the seeds that came in this order. I tend to go a little bit mad growing tomatoes, so when I do my tomato seed sowing video, you will see all the varieties I'll be sowing there. So now I'm going to move on to the peppers that I've ordered. So this is called Pepper Pimento de Padron. So Padron peppers are quite popular in Spain. I have seen these in the shops actually last summer, and they're lovely just fried on the pan, as they are green. They're picked green and fried on the pan and served with garlic sauce to make a lovely starter. They are used as tapas, as part of a tapas platter in Spain. So while I haven't actually grown these before, I have tasted them and they're absolutely gorgeous. Lovely, rich, deep flavour on them. And the garlic aioli is just gorgeous with them. This is another one, another chili pepper called Golden Greek Pepperoncini. I thought it was kind of similar to the Padron pepper, and I think it's good for pickling, which is something I want to do. I haven't actually pickled peppers before, so I do want to try this one, but I can treat it as well, the same as I would the Padron peppers, just fried on the pan whole, with a little bit of garlic sauce as well. The next one in this order is a poblano chili, fairly big sized chili, kind of border on the size of a pepper really. And again, they're lovely in Mexican food. Stuffed poblano peppers are gorgeous. They do have a bit of heat, kind of on the scale of a jalapeno, not terribly hot. Again, this is a variety I've tasted before but not actually grown, so that'll be a first to grow for me. I also think they're lovely as roasted peppers, and I would like to try preserving them roasted. That's the plan. And then next is something I haven't actually grown before either. It's aubergine. This one's called Bambino. Aubergines have a very long growing season, and I have tried to grow aubergines before but was too late sowing them, so I'll be sowing these fairly soon. And I deliberately got this smaller variety because I thought a smaller variety would have more chance of developing. Much like a cherry tomato, there's more likely more of a chance of it developing and ripening within the growing time that it has, if it's a smaller variety. So that's just the thought process behind that one. I will also try a more fuller sized aubergine as well, and we'll be able to compare the difference. So we'll be learning, we'll both be learning at the same time with that one. Next is a sweet corn variety, Early Bird, another F1 variety. I find because sweet corn probably isn't, it wouldn't be considered a native plant to grow here. Of course, maize, which would be related to it, would certainly grow well, but sweet corn maybe not so much. We don't really have hot enough summers for it. So this is an early variety, again with the concept of that it will produce in a shorter space of time. So hopefully, I have grown sweet corn before, not this particular variety. I actually can't think of the name of the variety I usually grow, but I have grown it successfully outside, and I certainly intend to do so again this year. Absolutely nothing like the sweet corn you harvest off a plant yourself. The first year I grew sweet corn, I was pulling it off the plant and eating it raw. It was just absolutely gorgeous and so tender, and definitely a very rewarding plant to grow. And as well as that, very popular with the kids. So if you're trying to get your kids eased into the garden a little bit, or trying to convince them to eat their vegetables, definitely sweet corn is a good variety to go with. Now I have the few oddities now coming up. So this is Ramson's wild garlic. This I think is, no, it's not the triangular variety, I don't think. So this, I would advise caution with wild garlic because it can take over a little bit. So I intend to plant just a few of these out basically in the field, maybe near the fence. I'd be afraid that they take over my garden completely. I know they have been known to be very prolific, so certainly plant with caution, I will say. And especially if you're in any area of particular natural beauty, certainly I advise caution, because you don't want them taken over. And I know one forested area here in our county has been taken over completely by it, and the only thing is it does die off. You know, it's not, it gets a good burst in spring and early summer, and it kind of dies off a little bit after that. But at the same time, you don't want it taken over other native plants or wild plants. Now, when I was doing this order up, I was kind of panicking that I didn't have onion seeds, because I knew the onions I had sown weren't germinating, but I did get some since. So anyway, this variety is called Density 4. Again, not one I've grown before, but seems to be quite a medium to large bulb, which is what I like. Globe type, and well, that's another one I'll be sowing now in the next day or two. Now I have a squash. I have plenty of squash, pumpkin seeds, etc. But this is a variety I actually couldn't get before. It's called buttercup squash. It's a nice small size squash. My family, not a big lover of squash, so I do kind of have to hide it. It's not like they'll be eating mountains of roasted squash or anything, so I do stick it into soups and maybe disguise it along with other vegetables. But so this is why I bought this one, because I think it's a nice size to be able to use the whole thing up in one go and hide it in a soup or whatever. Next is Florence fennel. This as well is something that I haven't grown very successfully. I've tried numerous times to grow it. I find possibly because I grow organically, I think maybe that has somewhat of an effect, but also the time of year. So I've been looking very carefully at the seed packets, and actually just a note on the information that comes with these seeds from Seedaholic. A full A5 page on one side and on the back. So if you're a new grower especially, this information that's on these sheets is so invaluable. It really does do nearly a step-by-step of from sowing to harvest of these seeds, and also for some of them gives medicinal properties. It gives information on if they're companion plants or what you can grow them well with for some varieties. And it even gives information on the name as well and the origin of the name. So I love that fact that they come with all that information, and it definitely is very helpful. And even experienced gardeners, like I consider myself an experienced gardener, but I still have difficulties growing some seeds. So definitely the information is invaluable. Even if I have had success with some things, perhaps this information could give me a better success rate with germination for sowing seeds. So something to take into consideration when you're ordering your seeds, definitely, is how much information you get with them. So this Florence fennel, I'm going to try from the information I've been looking at recently and on the page. I'll be trying to plant that out in June. Seemingly that's a better time to plant it out. I've been trying before in probably early mid-spring maybe, and I've tried in autumn and had no success, and probably that's why. And while they may grow, I often find sometimes the bulbs just don't swell up enough, which is the major problem. And of course this Florence fennel, you're actually growing it for the root, the base of it, rather than the herb. Now you can of course use the frondy herb on the top of it in cooking as well, but it's mostly grown for the root on the bottom. Spring onions, pretty standard to have spring onions in any garden. This is Ishikura. The problem I find is they need to be successively sown, and I might do the first and second sowings quite well and do a good successive sowing the second time around, but after that, come May, June, when the garden's getting busy, often the succession sowing can fall by the wayside. So every year I tell myself I'm going to try to do better on that. This year is no different. So that variety is Ishikura onion, and I think it's one that doesn't bulb up very much, so maybe lasts that little bit longer in the ground. Now we're on to a few herbs here. I have creeping thyme. It has culinary uses as well as ornamental. I plan on putting some of this in the front garden. I seen when I was reading the information on the packet, it says that thyme is great to plant in place of grass in a garden. If you had a small grassy area, it could be replaced with thyme. It's definitely giving me some ideas. Because I have a smallish area of grass out the front, so it could be something I might tackle, not this year but some other year. Next is cutting leaf celery. So this is a plant that grows almost as a herb really, and if I ever get a herb bed organized, I'll be putting this into it. So I find growing celery for harvest, it kind of does nothing for a long time in the ground, and like you're putting it in as tiny little seedlings and it seems to do very, very little, and then it might grow on. Maybe in July you might have about 6 or 7 decent stalks on your celery, but it's still too small for harvesting. And then all of a sudden the harvesting takes over, preserving and all the work that goes along with it takes over, and come the beginning of September, the middle of September, your celery is absolutely huge and the stalks have kind of hollowed out. So, and while they're still perfectly edible, and mostly the dishes I cook with celery are soup, to be honest. I mean stews as well, of course, and casseroles, but mostly soups. And I'm whizzing it up anyway with the blender. But it does tend to be a little bit tougher when it's hollowed out. Also more susceptible to bugs as well. They love to hollow themselves up into the stalks. So I considered this as an alternative that I could just go out and harvest as I wanted. It has the same flavour as celery. It just doesn't grow to, you know, the head that you get on celery. It doesn't grow like that. So again, a first time to grow it, so we'll see how it goes. I'll know better next year whether I can recommend it or not. I have another thyme here, orange thyme. I'm interested in growing this in containers. I'm actually thinking they might make an evergreen kind of shrubby like plant for containers, just to keep interest going over the winter. It's something I've been considering a lot lately in the winter gone past, that I don't have a lot of winter interest, so I thought it'd be something handy to go in window boxes and even maybe some of my smaller pots. But I'll have to see how actually evergreen it is over the winter. But again, a new plant to me to sow, orange scented thyme, and we'll see how we get on with it. Now this is chives, fine leaved chives. Nothing majorly difficult about growing chives. I particularly wanted this fine leaved version. Chives can get a bit tough as they grow on, and it's a perennial plant. Like, if you plant it once and you'll have it like forever, and you can divide it and whatever. But I do find the stalks usually get a little bit woody and tough the older the plant gets. So I'm hoping that maybe this fine leaf variety might be different. Again, time will tell. Next I have climbing French beans. Actually haven't grown climbing French beans before. I tend to go for the dwarf French bean, just because there's a bit less fuss to them. The climbing bean needs a climbing frame, obviously, so that takes a little bit of work. You're usually doing it already for peas, so once you have it done for the peas, you're not too interested in doing it again. But this year I decided, because I had such bad luck with my dwarf French beans last year, and mostly I think the problem was the compost, but still I decided to get these as a kind of a backup. I'm hoping they're probably a little bit more prolific, maybe even than the dwarf plants. I have it in my head that I want to get a big harvest of French beans for preserving. Now, I think personally I prefer them frozen over canning. They can be canned in a pressure canner, but I feel maybe they get a bit too soggy in that. So I'm going to try both ways, see which I prefer. But first of all, I have to get the harvest. So I'll be trying dwarf beans as well this year, and who knows, maybe I'll have a bumper crop and I could be sick looking at French beans. Now we're on to the salad leaves now. This is Little Leprechaun. It's a bicoloured variety. It's kind of red and green, and nice crispy kind of Kos type lettuce. And then I bought a few salad mixes as well. I like a variety of salad mixes. I find sometimes the salad mixes might not, certain varieties might not germinate. So I figured if I cover a whole bed with a variety of different mixes, I'm bound to get a good selection of lettuces. And again, it's something that has to be successively sown. And while that might work the first time, and the second time, following through in the busy summer months is often a problem for me with lettuce. So like I said, hopefully this year I'll do better. So this is a classic lettuce mix, nice mix of colours and textures in it, or it seems that way. This is a mesclun mix, a little bit similar, maybe some more hardier varieties in it. And again, the varieties are actually named down in this information below. So if you know particular varieties that you like, you'll be able to sift through that information yourself at a later time. This is a Californian mix, and there was really no rhyme or reason to my selections for mixed lettuces other than I wanted a couple of different mixes See what grows really well here in the heat of summer, and then also on into the late autumn as well. But again, it needs successive sowing, so we'll see if that actually works out. And then this is salad leaf frilly leaf mix. And again, there's probably similar varieties in all of these mixes that that are common to them all. But this one has red frills, green frills, and red Russian kale, which I felt were all kind of good hardy leaves. So this might do better into the autumn and winter than some of the other varieties. And then here we have pak choi. Chinese green, again, it grows well in the winter time. It's a type of mustard. I particularly like it in stir fries. It's just hard to get it harvested at the ideal size as a baby pak choi sometimes, a baby pak choi. But look, I keep trying. And the leaves can be just harvested on their own either. If I had a good enough crop, I could just harvest the outside leaves for stir fry too. Next I have spinach. This is an F1 variety called Piano. I've never grown this variety before, but I mean, spinach is spinach. I was trying to pick a variety. I'm just quickly reading the information on the packet here. I was trying to pick a variety that might not bolt so quickly in the summer. Spinach is very hard to grow in the heat of the summer, so it usually bolts pretty much straight away before it gets to produce any significant amount of leaves. So there's always leaf beet, which you can grow as a replacement for spinach in the summertime, and that's usually what I go to, but it tends to have a slightly tougher leaf, and because I like to harvest my spinach as baby spinach for lettuce, for salad mixes, it just tends to be that little bit tougher when it's mixed in with different lettuces. So this one is supposed to not bolt as quick, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. And then this is my absolute favorite salad leaf for winter, Swiss chard. So I've ordered several packets of that because I grow it as a baby leaf, again similar to the spinach, but you can of course let this grow to a big plant and cook it similar to cabbage. I would usually cook the stalks separately. I mean, I have cooked it as a full size plant before. So you chop the stalks and saute them first, and then add in the chopped leaves on the top, usually just sauteed with a little bit of butter. Of course, butter makes everything taste lovely, but it does have a very earthy taste, so it's not to everybody's taste, and I wouldn't say I love it. I mean, I'd eat it, but there's nicer vegetables, so the chard is usually left to the last. So, but as a baby leaf, it is gorgeous. It doesn't have that strong earthy flavour. It's much milder as a baby leaf and certainly can be eaten raw in salads. The next one is sorrel. It's a red veined sorrel, this variety. I have grown sorrel before, French sorrel, which is what this is. I think there's a couple of different varieties of sorrel, even of French sorrel, but it has a lovely tang, a lemony tang, and it can be a big surprise in your mouth when you eat it. But if it's used in moderation with other salad leaves, absolutely gorgeous. Sorrel, of course, can be found in the wild as well. So you could forage for sorrel if you knew what you were looking for. Again, do your own research on that if you're going out to forage. But certainly it's something you could find in the wild, and actually that's something I could plant out in the field as well and just let it take off itself. So the next is crisp head lettuce, Great Lakes, an iceberg variety. It's a long time from I've sown iceberg lettuce, and there over the winter when my own salad leaves were running sparse, I found I was topping up with iceberg lettuce from the shop. And while iceberg doesn't really have much flavour, it's a lovely crispy leaf to have if you just want that crispy texture. So I decided I'd take off growing it again, and now there's a big difference. the iceberg you buy in the shop is so clean, but I always tell myself what had to be sprayed on it to get it that clean. So that's the difficulty I've had with iceberg that I've grown myself. You just need to be very diligent in washing it and everything, whereas when you buy it from the shop, let's face it, you just chop it up and give it a quick rinse under the tap, whereas this takes a little bit more time. But look, all lettuce that you grow yourself takes a good bit of time to wash and everything, and you do question sometimes whether it's worth it, but the flavour is usually what sells it to me, and that's maybe why I haven't grown the iceberg, because it does lack flavour. But this year again, like I said, I've been reminded of the lovely crispy texture it gives, so I'm going to give it a go again. So now I'm on to my root vegetables, and again, these vegetables, these seeds are not the only seeds I'm going to be sowing this year. This is just what I've ordered from Seedaholics, and you'll see the other varieties that I'll be sowing as the months go on. So this one is beetroot. It's Detroit 2. It's a Crimson Globe. I like varieties, and now heirloom varieties of beetroot are absolutely gorgeous. But it depends on the use you're going to have for them. If you're just going to roast them, heirloom varieties are great, but the skin of them tends to get very gnarly as they get bigger, and it can leave it difficult for peeling if you are using them for something particular that you have to peel them for. So I like smooth skinned varieties for particular uses. So pickling, I like a smooth skin variety, and I make a relish with mine as well. And again, I like a smooth skin variety just because, well, firstly, they're easier to wash. So I like to be able to just rinse them under the tap, get all the soil off them, and then just grate them skin on for my relish. Whereas if I've used an heirloom variety that's all knobbly skinned, I'm never sure that I have it washed completely, washed all the soil out of it completely. And the last thing anyone wants is a lump of soil. But as well as that, it could actually be dangerous to be preserving soil, as you can imagine. But that's a whole other story. So anyway, picked this variety particularly because of its smooth skin. It's a nice size, nice medium sized beetroot. Okay, the next one is radish, and I mean, they're a very rewarding crop. Don't particularly love radishes, but they're actually lovely roasted in along with other vegetables. Don't particularly like when they're just on their own roasted. I do need them mixed in with other flavours. Sometimes they can get quite peppery and hot, but roasting does mellow that down a fair bit. But they can be just a bit mushy sometimes when they're on their own, which is why I like to add them in with different things. But again, that's personal taste. Some people just absolutely love radishes. And like I said, they're a really rewarding crop to grow in the garden, because I mean 6 to 8 weeks and you have your crop. And great for kids as well, because you know, kids don't want something instant. You know, they'd like to sow the seeds one day and go out and pick the vegetables the next day, where you won't quite do that with radishes, but it is one of the faster crops to grow, and in the summertime especially, though it can be difficult to get them in the real heat of summer. But May, we'll say for example, would be the perfect weather for growing radishes quite quickly. You probably get them in 6 weeks. Then we have parsnip. So this particular variety is Gladiator F1. Parsnips are one of those plants that you have to buy fresh seed for every year. They don't germinate very well in their second year. They just need to be fresh seed. Alliums, any of the onion family are the same. So this is just a variety, and an F1 variety, I find it grows better. They can get, I think it's canker it's called, where they're just, well, it looks like it's half started to rot out on the parsnip. As well as that, the crown of the parsnip can be really deep, so where the actual stalk comes out of the top of the parsnip, sometimes it can get down really deep, and it leaves a lot of waste when you're peeling your parsnips, because it gets full of soil and dirt as well. So the F1 varieties are bred to be resistant to canker and to have a fuller crown at the top as well. So just something to take into consideration when you're growing your parsnips. I'm sure the older varieties may have better flavour, but I've grown F1 varieties of parsnips before and I have no problem with the flavour. This is carrots Napoli, again an F1 variety. It's an early variety and I wanted to get carrot seeds in the ground as soon as possible. As you know, I didn't have a great overwinter harvest of carrots, so I want to get these grown as soon as the soil is ready to take them. These of course are direct sown. Carrots and parsnips are two vegetables that I would say only direct sow them, don't sow in seed trays. Any other vegetable I will take a chance. Even beetroots and turnips and swedes, I'll take a chance and sow them in module trays, but not the carrots and parsnips. So again, this is an early variety, so hopefully I'll be getting a crop in maybe early summer even of that. And I will of course still be planting my varieties for harvesting over winter, but I'll have these early for using during the summer. Okay, we're on to brassicas now. This is cauliflower romanesco. I've grown this before, had varying success with it. Again, a lot of it's down to timing. It's the kind of plant I like to usually put in over winter, but it doesn't actually like overwinter conditions, so it often has bolted on me come the spring. But there's something really fascinating about the actual shape, and again you can go online and see the pictures of these romanesco cauliflowers. They're actually called broccoli in America. I think they're romanesco broccoli, but they're the same plant. For some reason we call them cauliflowers here. But they have a fascinating shape to them, and the symmetry and the pattern that it creates really fascinates me. So I want to grow it just for the look of it. I'm sure it tastes absolutely gorgeous as well, but yeah, sometimes you just grow things for the look of them as well as the taste, or I do at least. So this is cauliflower snowball, heritage variety. I have no experience growing this particular variety, but I mean, cauliflower is cauliflower. Again, I'll be starting some of these relatively soon. Well, in a few weeks time I'll be starting my early spring sowing, but again I do tend to do several sowings of brassicas throughout the growing season. And then this is broccoli, another F1 variety, Bell Star. I've seen this grow before, not actually grown it myself, but nice big heads come on it. So when you have a bigger family like me, so there's 5 of us in our family, and the kids all absolutely love broccoli, so I like to grow the bigger headed varieties, and this F1 variety does grow a good sized broccoli head, so for that reason I'm growing the bigger one. Now I do also grow green sprouting broccoli, which is great because it keeps coming, it keeps shooting out sprouts out of it, and so it's kind of a cut and come again plant, but I like the head of broccoli as well. So and that's it. That's all the vegetables that I've got from Seedaholic. I'll soon be doing my tomato seed sowing and peppers and warm climate plants. I'll be sowing them very soon, so you'll see the full variety of tomatoes, peppers, chilies, and aubergines that I will be growing this year. So I hope you found this video interesting. I know it was just showing you all my seeds, but I find these kind of videos interesting, so I thought maybe somebody else might too. And again, these were all bought from seedaholic.com. This is the first time I've bought from seedaholic.com, but I have seen their I have come across their seeds before, probably in seed swaps at our local DIY group, and I know the place I used to work when I used to grow vegetables there had some of those in stock already, some of their seeds. So I was familiar with what I might be getting. Again, like I said, the information on the packet is just invaluable, and if you were only to buy them for that reason alone, it's definitely, I recommend it. But apart from that, the quality of their seed, of course, will be next to none, second to none. And yeah, so very happy with the order, very happy with how quickly it came out, etc. And I'm looking forward to growing all the produce, and you'll get to see the fruition of them later on in the year, hopefully. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.